Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to the arcade. My name is Jack, and today we're going to be talking about God of War Ragnarok. And full spoiler warning ahead, for those of you guys that have not played God of War 2018 or don't know the story of God of War 2018, there will be key elements of the first game that are going to be discussed in this video. So for those of you guys that don't want to know, just giving you a full warning right now, spoilers starting now. And before getting into the nitty gritty, I wanted to start this video off by asking a question to all of the God of War fans. And the question is, do you guys think that Kratos might die by God of War Ragnarok's end? So let your comments be known down below on that one, and of course as to why or how and your speculation. So without further ado, let's get into it. Back in 2016 at the E3 Sony press conference, the show kicked off with the reveal of God of War that pretty much nobody saw coming, and it was met with resounding success. Fans loved the new look of Kratos, and everyone was also welcoming of the reveal of the brand new gameplay and engine that the game was going to be running on. And it's safe to say that fans were hyped to the absolute max for the game. Fast forward about 2 years later, the game finally releases and is met with absolute praise from fans and critics alike. At the very heart of it all is the story of the ultimate father and son story that is centered around a brutal but yet beautiful adventure that starts with fulfilling the final wish of a dying mother and wife. Character development is perhaps the biggest highlight of the story between Kratos, the former vengeful, rage-fueled god, and his son, Atreus, who is revealed later on at the end of the game to also be known by the Giants as Loki. If you ask me, that's a hell of a reveal by the end of the game. During the game from start to finish, you meet all sorts of characters, from the hilarious blacksmiths, who happen to be brothers with very different personality types that also add some humor into the game, to Baldur, or Norse god that basically goes to your house and starts shit that you try to avoid, but unfortunately you cannot, which in turn starts this really big conflict. Then you eventually meet Freya, a witch who is actually very caring and ends up saving Atreus' life, and is also revealed later to be the mother of this asshole god, Baldur. And if that wasn't enough, she was also obviously the ex-wife of Odin. So long story short, after a few back and forth conflicts with Baldur and dramatic yet great father and son moments with Atreus, you end up killing Baldur for good at the end of the game, which obviously leaves Freya very, very furious and heartbroken, and she makes it very, very clear that she will be your worst enemy from this moment on. And that's where the story ends in God of War 2018. Well, that and Thor showing up at your doorstep at the end of the game with Mjolnir in full display. So fast forward a few years later, we finally get our reveal of the upcoming sequel, and we notice that some time has passed since the events of the last game, and Atreus has grown and is now a teenager and is hunting on his own. It's very safe to assume that he's going to have a bigger arsenal and impact in gameplay in Ragnarok. I actually wouldn't be surprised if there are segments in the game where you only get to play as Atreus. Atreus obviously trying to kill you, and just like the first game, there will be heated discussions between father and son, meeting new characters, as well as the return of a few familiar faces, familiar combat and gameplay and puzzle elements, along with new worlds to explore. Basically a good mix of familiar and new. Sony Santa Monica and Cory Barlog have already revealed that Ragnarok is going to be the end of this story, as they have spent nearly a decade making these two games. And at first, I was worried about the game because this game would take about 4 years to develop, and the first game took 5 years to develop. I then asked myself, are they rushing development like many other developers these days, releasing incomplete games? But then it hit me like a ton of bricks. They had to build the new game engine for the first game, which they obviously did not have to do with this game. This is actually a process that can take up to a year, or in some cases even more, depending on the game and resources. So 4 years of development time for God of War Ragnarok actually sounds about right. But with the exciting recent announcement of the official release date and the new cinematic trailer, fans like myself and others are left with a few questions that we hope will be answered in Ragnarok. Some of these include questions such as, will Kratos die? Will we see Atreus activate Spartan Rage without getting sick and utilize it in a similar way as his father does? Will giant wolf battles replace the dragons from the first game? Who will survive? Who will not? Will we kill both Thor and Odin? What about the World Serpent? And of course, the one question that cannot be ignored or underestimated. Can God of War Ragnarok win the Game of the Year award over the prestigious and amazing Elden Ring? All of this remains to be seen, and all these questions remain to be answered. But one thing is for certain, the hype for God of War Ragnarok is strong, and whether or not it wins Game of the Year is a secondary factor compared to the kind of quality game that Sony Santa Monica will deliver. As I said before, they have yet to let us down, and there's no doubt that God of War Ragnarok will deliver a great story, great gameplay, stunning visuals, and a good amount of epic and holy shit moments that will be talked about for long after the game's release. So, with all that being said, guys, what is your level of hype for the game? Do you guys think that Kratos might die? Do you think that God of War has a legit decent chance to win Game of the Year against the prestigious and wonderful Elden Ring? And overall, what are you looking forward to the most in the game? Let all the comments be known down below. And thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.